Hello buddy, welcome back. In this video I want to show you guys something that you guys might find kind of interesting, and you might even actually switch over to using one of these like I did. I don't know if any of y'all noticed lately that I've kind of converted from using these cans like this of great stuff to the gun version right here, especially with all the foam work that I've been doing. I kind of switched to this right here for a few different reasons, and I want to kind of talk about some of those reasons, and I want to show you guys an actual test to show you guys why this thing is much nicer to use versus, you know, the cans right there. One of the number one biggest things is the cleaning aspect of it. These things right here, as long as you leave the can on, you know, your can is nice and tight against the base right here. Your nozzle right here is closed, especially if you plan on leaving it for a little while. You actually have a little adjuster back here. You make sure that that needle right there is seated and closed. You can leave that can on there and never have to worry about cleaning the thing. Like, I've actually left cans on these things for 2 months. Come back, open my thing up, make sure that the end's cleaned off, and the foam comes right out of it. We all know with these things right here, you know, chances are if you don't get this thing fully cleaned out, like the straw and the top section right here, these things are going to be junk after one-time use. So unless you plan on using the whole can, a lot of times you're throwing some of it away, and that's you're wasting money at that point. So that's one of the biggest reasons I kind of switched over to the gun version. The other thing is control. And what I mean by control is, like I said a second ago, this thing has a dial back here. This dial right here actually controls how much the trigger goes back, which controls how much foam is going to come out of that end. So I can actually do a very fine bead of foam if I'm working on something very small, to putting a large amount of foam out if I'm working on something large right there. Versus this right here, you have a little bit of control, but you don't have a whole lot of control with one of these, you know, especially if you want to do pinpoint kind of stuff. So, I mean, you have a little bit, but not very accurate kind of control with one of these right here. The other thing is overall cost. Even though this can doesn't look much bigger than this one right here, this can right here will do roughly about 2 of these cans worth. So the cost is pretty much about the same. The only thing that costs a little bit more is your initial setup, and that's buying the gun itself. So like buying the gun, you can find them on Amazon, I think as low as like $12. But if you go to a big box store, Home Depot, Lowe's, stuff like that, they're about 60 to 70 bucks for one of these guns right here. But as long as you take care of it, this gun will last an extremely long time. So like I buy one of these guns, I buy one of these cans, and this can will last me quite a while because with the pinpoint accuracy that I can use, I'm not wasting foam and I'm not throwing stuff away. So instead of me throwing half of this can away, I'm not throwing any of this away until this can is completely empty. So initial setup will cost a little more, but in the long run, it's actually almost cheaper in a small way. It might sound kind of weird, but it actually kind of is. Pretty much the last thing, and the most important thing, is time frame. This right here, I can put this on a project, put it on there, give it 15, 20 minutes, and I can immediately start working with that project. This stuff will dry fast enough to where 15, 20 minutes later, I'm ready to work. Versus this stuff right here, if I put this stuff on here in about 15, 20 minutes, the outside might have a skin on it, but the inside's not dry enough yet, and I could pull my piece apart. This is going to take at least 2-hour minimum before you can really start working with this stuff right here. So this stuff right here takes 3-4 times longer to set up enough to work versus this right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys a little test. I have some pieces of styrofoam over here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on the styrofoam. I'm going to set my stopwatch. I'm going to put my camera in front of it, and I'm going to run it for 15 minutes. So you can see that after 15 minutes, I will go to pull the pieces apart. And the stuff that's glued together with this right here, I'm going to break it apart, trying to get it apart. This right here, chances are I'm going to pull it apart without breaking the foam because it's still going to be gooey on the inside. So let's go ahead and get to that test and show you guys that. All right, so I got the stopwatch set up right there. I have my pieces of foam. Now I'm not going to use the straw just so it's less cleaning for me to do. So I'm just going to put a little bit of foam on this one, and a little bit of foam on this right there, and then I'll stack them on top of each other, use that center block, make sure it stays put, and then I'm going to set that. I'll come back in 15 minutes, and we'll see what happens. And then what I'm going to do is after I get done with the test, then I'll show you guys how you clean the gun. Got a little messy there. Sometimes after you use it, the tip will get a little stuck. So on there. All right, let's get this going. All right. All right, so we're going to let that sit there for 15 minutes, and we'll come back to it.
Now, I'll normally give this more than 15 minutes of dry time. I'll usually work on something different. The point in this video is just to kind of show you guys how fast this stuff really dries and how quick you can start working on your project again. As far as overall strength, if you're wondering about that, not one of these is stronger than the other. If you let the regular expansion foam fully cure like it's supposed to, it'll be just as strong. The only difference between the two is one dries faster than the other, and that's why I like using it.
All right, so we've reached our 15 minutes. So if if I'm correct, this will do exactly what I'm talking it'll do. So here's gonna be the regular expansion foam. So like you see, it has a skin on it, but you can take it right apart. It's still gooey and nasty inside. So this would definitely need quite a bit of time before that's ready for you to do anything with. The other one, so you see, now obviously 15 minutes is not a super long time. You let that cure for a little bit longer, it will be a little stronger. But you know, even like right now, you can see this is still, you know, tacky. Whereas this is not. So technically this is already dry, ready to work. And obviously if I wasn't ripping it apart, I could already get into here, use my knife, start cutting, start sanding, start moving, do whatever I need to do. So that's one of the reasons why I like it, because I can continue on my projects with a shorter duration time for drying time of my foam, essentially. So next step is what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how to actually clean those guns, and we'll go ahead and close this video out. All right, so for the next portion real fast, we're going to go ahead and talk about cleaning the gun and the control that you have with these particular guns right here. Now, for the cleaning aspect, pretty much in the same aisle, you're going to find your foam. You're going to find this right here. It's essentially your foam gun cleaner right here. It's going to come in a black can generally. They're set up in two ways. One, you have this little nozzle right here that kind of sits on the end right here when you get it. What that's for is that's for like if you just got to clean something off real fast, the end of the gun or something like that, you can actually use it as a spray can. Or when you're cleaning the actual full gun out, you take it up and this actually screws onto your gun just like the can does. You press the trigger until it starts spitting out just clean liquid and no more foam, and then your gun is clean and you're ready to go. What I generally do in between can changes is after I spray foam, I'm always going to end up with a little bit on the end of the gun right here. I'll spray a little bit into a rag and I just wipe off the end of it so it's ready for each use after I get done. And if you end up forgetting to do that, you can always, take like what I'll do is I'll take like either a knife like this, a putty knife or something like that, and just go over the end of it and just clean the excess off. So let me show you control real quick, and then we'll go ahead and clean the gun. So on the gun itself, you see it has this dial on the back side that can be rotated. What that dial does is that controls how far you can pull this trigger back, which is going to in turn control how far the end, essentially your stopper, I guess you can say, goes back inside. So like if I open it up just a little bit, I can get, see how fine line I can get? Open it up a little more and get a little bit bigger line, a little more, bigger line, a little more, and bigger, a little more, and then almost full blast right there. So when you look at that, you can have some serious control with one of these guns depending on what you're working with. And that right there, you see, that's like almost like nothing. Of course, that's not going to do anything for you, but that's just a demonstration of how much control you have with one of these guns right here. So for the cleaning part, get that out of my way now. Now, like I said, see I got a little bit of foam on the end? A lot of times I'll just take my cleaner right in the end of a rag and just go over the end of it. And now it's ready for the next use. But for actually cleaning the entire gun out, essentially a lot of times keep a pair of pliers with you, because over time this can does kind of get stuck on there. Pretty much all you're going to do is you're just going to unscrew it like that. You're going to end up with a little bit of foam in there. So let me get my box here. So you take your cleaner, clean the end of that off, especially if you plan on reusing this. You clean the end of that off. Then you'll clean the inside of this like that. I will usually turn it on full blast, spray it like this, and get rid of all the excess out of the gun first before I use my cleaner because it'll actually clean the inside of the gun out faster. So once I do that, screw your cleaner on, and you just, and you'll see when it actually gets, you know, clear. So like you see right now, as it's going on the end of the box, hopefully you can see that. It's getting clear. And then pretty much after that, I'll still take my little rag, go on the end just to make sure there's not stuck on the end. Pull your can off. Now you can leave what left is in there, or you can spray it out. Since I've had this one for a while, you can see my little ball thing doesn't seal properly every time. So I'll just get rid of the excess. And then you put this on your shelf and you're ready to use it for your next time. And then once you get a new can, screw the can on there, and whew, you're ready to start working again. So that's really all there is to the actual cleaning of these guns. It's a very simple process. But that's essentially one of the reasons I end up switching to one of these foam guns instead of the cans, is control, cost, cleaning, and just overall it works better. It's nicer to use than the cans. You get less material on you. You wear it a lot less than the other ones and stuff like that. So, but I hope you guys found this video very interesting, and you know, kind of maybe you thought about these before, but you weren't sure about them as far as like how they worked or how you clean them, or you know, are they worth it or something like that. I do feel they're worth it. So I hope this information was helpful. All right, so before I close this video out, one thing I forgot to mention, when it comes to these cans, they're self-sealing. So you can pull these cans off and on as many times as you want. You don't have to wait till they're empty before you actually do the exchange and stuff like that. But I do recommend that if you're going to pull a can off and you have no plans on putting another can on for a while, always clean the gun out just to play it safe. If you plan on putting another can on right away, just make sure you clean out that area right there where the threads go, just so you don't get a bunch of foam on your threads, and you're good to go. So outside of that, like I said, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.